As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. I will say we do have an interesting piece of a very relevant research from YouGov this week. It's short, but I do think it'll make for a very interesting discussion. Let me pull it up here. And it's related to E3, interestingly enough, where they did a survey talking about, I don't know why I can't find it here, talking about the most anticipated games of E3. Hang on. I have it here. I know I opened it.
Can we guess before?
Yes.
What the most anticipated?
Yes. Okay, I did have it here.
I don't want to go first.
Most anticipated games of E3.
Oh, no cheating.
I'll go
You guys
Halo
can see
Infinite.
it.
Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it's going to be called.
So basically, they asked. Let me just read the question that they asked. The E3 is happening virtually this year. Several major gaming titles are expected to be announced at the showcase. Which, if any, of the following potential E3 game announcements are you excited about? And they let people select all that apply, so they could choose multiple. Okay. Is there consensus on number one here?
Halo Infinite.
I'm gonna go for Metroid something or another.
No,
I want to hear everyone's choice for number one.
BO 2.
Lindsay, you said Breath of the Wild. Jeff said Halo Infinite. William said Breath of the Wild. Jimmy?
I'll say the old school Metro that they made. Oh, sorry. Wrong Jimmy.
Jimmy B.
Thick boy, you mean? Yeah. I'm with Breath of the Wild as well.
Jimmy M.
I go old school Metro just because why not?
Interesting. Okay. I'll put it up here. I hope you guys, it's big enough to see. Breath of the Wild 2. By a mile. By a mile, interestingly enough. Which I'm always amazed at the power of Nintendo. Like I think I'm surprised every time, and William would probably not be surprised, but I'm always surprised. I feel like just Nintendo's not as much on my radar, so I guess I'm surprised when I see these things. But what's interesting is if you look at just console or PC gamers, right? It's far and away the most anticipated title. Does anyone think in a new console cycle where we just got a new Xbox and a new PlayStation that a Nintendo Switch game is literally the most anticipated game of E3? Like, is there something we can conclude from that in terms of this current console cycle?
I have something to conclude. Maybe it's that if you build a brand and really focus on fleshing out the feeling of discovery, and instead of focusing on just graphical quality, maybe you have something year after year that attracts that player that knows, like, I'm going to pick up a Zelda game, I'm going to be able to explore. Whereas in Battlefield, you come to the game, you're like, it's going to be a shooter game that gets graphically better year after year. It's not that exciting for me personally.
Is anyone shocked that, because a lot of the discussion, even on the podcast, and I think it's the first name you guys threw out when we talked about E3 at the top of the show, Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring, the trailer, Elden Ring. Is anyone surprised this is dead last on this list?
I'm a little surprised Starfield isn't higher. I mean, a new IP from Bethesda for the first time in 25 years.
Keep in mind, Bethesda's in a bit of the, like, they haven't, the last Fallout was not exactly a home run, so there may be some bad feelings there. I don't know. But
it's also like, if you look at this, it's basically a brand rank ordered index, right? Like if you literally look at it, it's like, what are the biggest brands on this list?
Right.
Halo, Battlefield, God of War, Zelda, they're all at the top, right?
Mhm.
I also think it's fair to say, and this might be incredibly biased, but I think it's also fair to say quality still matters a lot in our industry. Like some of the best games of the last 5 years have been Breath of the Wild and the new God of War. Like I'm like literally like I'm just not surprised to see consumers are excited to see those because they were literally some of the best games to come out, you know. So I think it's saying about quality. The one that surprises me here, or the two that surprise me here, I will say, are Battlefield 2042 and Dying Light.
Yeah.
Because they're too high or too low?
Because those are both IPs that I didn't associate as having like when was the last time a Battlefield game was a hit? You know?
Especially Dying Light.
Whoa.
Like the one before.
Them's be fighting words.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
I mean, Battlefield 5 was good, but like Dying Light, who even played the first Dying Light?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm sorry, but like Battlefield to me is, and I'm not criticizing. I know the Battlefield games are good, dude. I've played Battlefield; they're awesome. But like, I'm not critiquing the quality of the game, but like, I thought the general consumer consensus for Battlefield was that it was like, you know, it was kind of like Call of Duty second place. And I'm sorry that's harsh, but like, you know, it's perceived as the alternative shooter brand to Call of Duty. And I'm surprised to see it getting that much interest. And then the other one, Dying Light, is like exactly like I know what Dying Light is, but who's heard of Dying Light? Like,
and it's like I like zombies. I like parkour. It's a parkour zombie game, and I still wasn't that interested into it.
Yeah, like I kind of thought the original Dying Light was a cult hit. I didn't realize it was mainstream enough to get into this rank. Like I get why Elden Ring is where it is because it's an extremely specialized game. People who are into the genre like me are going to be pumped. But the game is called Elden Ring. I mean, come on. Like you're not setting yourself up for mainstream success.
Wasn't the way the survey, not to be, I think this is usually Lindsay's job to critique the survey design, but wasn't it set up so they listed them all and then you just pick? So it's like it inevitably would have been on the list because it was on the survey's list. So but what was the number? Like 5%, like Dying Light had like 8% of people.
But I guess even the fact that it was above like Elden Ring, like
that's not very high.
The survey is good because you see relative. Yeah. Right. It's not about the absolute number. It's about the relative number. Yeah. I'm totally in disagreement on Battlefield. It's never been just second rung to Call of Duty. It's always been the better game. I think Battlefield 5 suffered from really bad marketing, like really horrific marketing.
Really, Paul, does the sales data show it's always been the better game?
Keep in mind, Battlefield was never a console game. So for the console kiddies, they play a lot of COD, but Battlefield was always PC first.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Battlefield, I always thought was the vision that appealed to me more. Like I loved the higher scope. I loved the better integration of vehicles. Like I'm not
especially early days. It was not second fiddle to Call of Duty at all.
Early days is very, but yeah, totally different, right? But I think
to that point, the brand has always had cachet.
List, Paul, like Duke Nukem would have been most anticipated new IP of the year.
But Will,
if they were announcing a new game, yeah,
I think 2042 is also prime for success, given how unsuccessful Black Ops Cold War has been this past year. Because Warzone came out, dominated, and it was like, cool, we're in the modern era, we're doing some cool shit. And then Black Ops Cold War comes around, and it just kind of like falls under the rug. No one's even playing it anymore. Like, you know, it's the competitive league, but Warzone's still game. So I think Battlefield 2042 is not too far into the future where people are like, we're going to be strapped with jetpacks and flying around again, but it's like just enough to be interesting. So I think they're setting themselves up for like a lot of success there.
I agree. There's a nice gap for near future tech stuff. Like,
can we just look at this list one last time before we move on here? Because here's my takeaway. And I love proving myself correct that if you look at the top games, right? The ones coming at the top of this list. What I see in common with all of them is big experience, open world, big world. Like we're talking about experiences that feel epic, vast, right? God of War is more open world. Breath of the Wild, definitely open world. Battlefield's all about like now 128 players on the battlefield. Yeah, right? The theme here is big and epic still is what people want. Right? For all the Candy Crush people are playing, big and epic is still what people want. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into the data.
But
I don't know how you got that. from this.
I was gonna.
the
To be
markets.
fair, Harry Potter is like number
Paul just
6.
pushing
so.
buttons. That's all he does.
But that's the Harry Potter game. That's the Pokemon Go one, or what is that Harry Potter game?
No one knows.
The MMO
Hogwarts
one?
Legacy. I don't know.
Yeah, like,
I
what
just
the-
love. I love that it's just called Hogwarts Legacy, and people were like, "Yes, I am 6th
They were like,
most excited about
"Oh,
that." Doesn't
yeah."
matter what it is. Who cares? It's
Hogwarts
Yeah.
probably has a really good legacy. Like
sure
I'd like-
does.
Ramsey says Breath of the Wild. So Ramsey, you guessed correctly. Wade said Metroid didn't even make the top selections, unfortunately. What else is included in all? Just add mobile. I don't think they put any mobile. I don't know what all the selections were, but if I remember reading the article, they did not put mobile games as selections here. They were really looking at console and PC announcements. Wade says, I was surprised Metroid didn't make the list.
Hogwarts Legacy, brother. So gotta make room somehow.
Is anyone surprised Metroid didn't make the list?
I think it was.
Come on, it's a side scroller.
The only reason
Maybe
I'm
they didn't
surprised
know
is
it was
because
coming.
yeah, exactly. They didn't
Yeah,
know it was coming, and it's the first side scroller one in like 19 years or something. And so for that reason alone, I was thinking, okay, maybe Dread will be on the list, but Hogwarts Legacy, my friends. So I think that tells you enough.
I think Metroid wasn't public because this was a pre-survey thing, right? Like I
Yes,
think that was an E3 drop. So probably part of this is like because my whole thesis is you're basically seeing a brand rank order power index, and I think Metroid would have done better. So if it was known, it kind of disproves my thesis. So
Christian says excited for Halo as MMO competitor. I mean, I think everyone's there's a lot of expectations riding on this Halo. They cannot mess this one up. If this,
this is do or die time.
This is do or die.
Yeah, you already delayed it so much too.
We're in cyberpunk territory with Halo here. Josh says 100% agree with William on Battlefield and Dying Light.
Sorry, Paul.
I mean, as a COD dude, sorry, Paul.
What can I say? I love Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Battlefield.
Do you remember someone could jump out of an airplane and then mount in another airplane midair in like Battlefield 2? That was the greatest.
They had that in the trailer for 2042, where you
They
jump
had it
out
in
of the
the
plane,
trailer.
rocket launch, and get back in.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
good.
See?
There's actually a video out there of the creator of that jump reacting to seeing it for the first time in the trailer, which is great if you want to go consume some additional content.
Guys, I just want to wrap this up. Just again, quick word. Go check out YouGov for all this kind of data and reports like this. And I know they had a bunch of stuff around E3. So go take a look at their website, yougov.com/gaming-esports. Show them some love from Business of Esports and from the live stream.